What's up, guys? Lord Sovereign back again. PAX East 2023. I have the pleasure of being joined by Shaun Allen, developer of the game Treachery in Beatdown City. Shaun, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Now, you finished all your work on Treachery in Beatdown City, and now you have these DLCs coming out, right? Can you talk about the game proper for anybody who may not know about the game, and then the DLCs?
Of course. It's a game, it's a little hard to explain sometimes. I like to call it a power fantasy for the oppressed. It's a game where you're three POC fighters who get to fight like white supremacists, fascist cops,
all the bad things.
Lawyers, yeah, like just dudes that just are really aggressive with their rap CDs. They won't give up on, and also ninjas now. So it's a game that's we look at it as a subversion of beat 'em ups. Like I really love beat 'em ups, but beat 'em ups are all about like disposable characters.
Absolutely.
And our game, like I'm from New York. I'm from New York, biracial black kid. My mom was white, so my hair is big. I'm brown. People are like, what are you? Who are you? Are you this person's kid? People are really aggro in New York with asking you about literally everything. Right. Cops, everybody stop you. What if you could fight those people? That was a big part of my anxiety of living in the city. Also, the bigger you get, the more cops want to mess with you for no reason. Also, then like over the course of the last decade, like with all the Black Lives Matter stuff, and like it's just stretching up, like just getting more and more. Like I got stopped one day working on this by two white plainclothes cops in my neighborhood, 1 block away from the train I stepped off of, in a button-down shirt, like walking slowly, listening to my music, and they're like, you fit a description because of your hair. And I'm like, yeah. And my button-down shirt and with my headphones and a backpack on because I'm walking real slow for a person who just robbed somebody with a knife.
It's the unfortunate
reality. And actually, it's funny, I actually snuck my way out of that, but I was scared. I was like, what? I was like shaking afterwards.
So do you, is this game sort of your way of sort of kind of not lasting out, but sort of cathartic in a way?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said it's a power fantasy for the oppressed. It's like, what if you could fight the cops? What if you could fight all the people who get up in your business? And so it's got, like, I love beat 'em ups. But I really like Double Dragon on the Nintendo because it was like this, I was an only child. I played it by myself. It was like an RPG.
Version, right.
You gain these experience, and you can play it differently to learn different things. Also, similarly, like in college, all my friends went away to school. I found Fire Pro Wrestling, and I found those forums, and that became my thing. Like I loved wrestling. I loved Fire Pro Wrestling.
Especially for the creation suite, right?
The creation, also the whole character that they could actually have like realistic wrestling fights because you can set the behavior of characters that they start a certain way and end a certain way. Yeah. And then I love fighting games, but again, I grew up without being able to play with other people all the time.
Right.
And I love RPGs like Final Fantasy and all that stuff again. So like we first started off like, I'm a big fan of city-based games. So like when Castle Crashers came out, I was like, this is okay, but like A, it doesn't feel as good as like old Double Dragon.
I need the
and
hood.
B, it's not in the city.
Right.
It's just like kind of generic knights, and I was like, I don't really like this that much. And I like started getting inspired to do indie game stuff. So I was like, let's make a beat 'em up. Let's make the best beat 'em up. And then we were working on it. I was like, I don't really like all this jamming on stuff because I don't know if that's what's gonna be common. But I had a shower moment. I literally went to the shower. I was sad. I was like about to cry because I was like, we're gonna cancel this project. And then I like thought, and I was like, well, what will like Fallout 3? Like that, and I was like, but like Hybrid Heaven, which is a game that's like a turn-based 3D fighting game that my business partner and I used to play together on N64, and I was like, Super Mario RPG, I love this game, and I was just like, we're gonna mix this shit together and we're gonna make a game together.
So tell us how that all comes together in Treachery and Beatdown City. Like talk about the game mechanics.
I know it's long-winded, but
no, not at all. But again, I love we're from New York as well. So we understand where you're coming from in terms of where you're getting the energy to make this game. And then all the games you talked about, we love and play as well. So the idea that you're going to take a game that's simplistic in look, right, and say, hey, I'm going to put everything that I love about games into this one product. That's an amazing thing. So talk about it.
Yeah. So it's like we ended up like, we wanted to make these little, they're more like arenas because you fight 1 on 1 to 3 characters on one map.
Right.
a lot of times there's an inciting moment where there's a little cutscene where the characters are just gruesomely drawn, like Ren and Stimpy, to really kind of show the how make you want to hate them. They say something terrible to you. They're like, they call you the help. They think you're homeless because you're black, like all sorts of stuff. And then you get to fight them. You get to snark. Your characters are snarky. They get to snap on them, but then you get to stamp on them. And then you build. So the whole thing is actually.
So is that mechanic a back and forth for real? Like, is it something that you can engage with?
Well, in the cutscenes.
Right.
I sat a lot with a lot of. I know a lot of comedians because I hung out in the comedy section for a while, so that's actually what helped me write comedy in the first place. Like, I always say, like, I got to take a cab with Hassan Minhaj, like, before he was, like, really big. Right. Just because I was, like, hanging with comedians, and he was like, I'm going to Manhattan. I'm like, I need to get to Manhattan, too. Can you just drop me off? But, like, I was with all these great comedians that were, like, talking all this, like, you know, black and brown comedians who were like so that really inspired me. Key and Peele inspired me since Mad TV even. I've loved them for a very long time. Get Out, all that stuff really like coalesced into writing. Okay. And then, so it's like we call it a dark comedy for that reason. Then when you get in the fight, it's like you kind of remember that they look like there's a weird person. You remember all the things they said to you, even though they're simple art. The art's all based on like my love of Double Dragon on the Nintendo, which was like one of my favorite games. Like I just love the style because it feels like gritty New York. Absolutely. Very specifically. And that game also had like black and brown characters in it. If you wouldn't mind, could you describe a little bit of the gameplay that's going on here? Absolutely. Well, he just finished the tutorial of fighting Ugly John. Ugly John. So you can actually, because these are arenas, you can go left or right. Okay. Like the scrolling elements are the top-down elements. So we had to figure out a way to put together the fights. And then I was like, well, you know, like Mario, like 3 or whatever, any of those games. So you got your real-time attacks that you can use, and those are good for like open up objects. They're good for, this is still like a tutorial where we're just teaching you about what happens when you get hit in the back. So for somebody who's looking at it right now, they're looking at it like this is a turn-based RPG. Yeah, it's like it's real-time and turn-based. Yeah, so it's like we like to say it's like Double Dragon meets VATS. And then where it's like you can pause at any moment, but you really, but you still got to get up in someone's face in order to do the combo. So yeah, now you're leaving the gym because your dad's been trying to call you because the president's been kidnapped, and he's trying to be like, hey, I need your help. I think it's revolutionary to be like you start a game with like a dark-skinned Puerto Rican woman and she gets to talk to her poppy coming out of the gym. And that is exactly it. Yeah. To take all of those sort of norms and tropes that we sort of recognize as the norm and kind of turn them on their head, right? Yeah. So Shaun, we saw this game honestly for the first time this past January at the New York Game Awards. Yeah. And Harold Goldberg couldn't stop going crazy about it, right? And we were so excited to see you go up there and talk about the game. Tell everybody when, obviously Treachery and Beatdown City's out already. Yeah. When can they get the DLC and the other facets of the game? And like what platforms can they get it on? Yeah, so the DLC, we're hoping to launch end of April. Okay. Yeah, it's coming out DLC. If anyone has the game on Switch or PC, it's going to be a free update. Oh, amazing. Which is unwise, but I want to just make sure everyone has it. It's coming out on Xbox. Also, at the same time, the whole thing's coming out on Xbox. It's now like Ultra Remix. That's like the new title of it. We're being coming out on Mac, Linux. Just someone from Epic just came by and be like, yo, you want help get on Epic Game Store? So go there. Amazing. And we're also working on a PlayStation version. We do not know if it'll be out right then, but it'll be out soon. But everything will be out very soon. That's great to hear. This is like us trying to, like we launched this into the pandemic after working on it very hard. Me and my programmer who started it with me, we've scaled up to like 4 or 5 people. But like we were both like poor kids from the hood. Like he was working on this in the projects, and he would get asthma attacks because of the mold in his house. Yeah. And we would it would delay us for like a month because he just couldn't work for a while. And it was like, and like we launched it into the pandemic. I'm like taking care of my kid during the day. Yeah. So now we're like, people believed in it and they wanted to invest in us to allow us to really put it out as best as possible. So that's what we're doing right now. We are so delighted to be able to put a spotlight on the game. Like I said, we fell in love with it. The music, the music. Yeah. Let's talk about the music and the influences about the music. So we got so the musician for the whole game is this guy Inverse Phase. He's out in he used to be called Mr. Magfest. Magfest is like the big games music festival. He's like an amazing chiptune artist. I actually found him because he had done a cover of CeeLo Green's "Forget You" or "Fuck You," like a chiptune version. So I heard that and I thought it was funny. I was like, I want to work with this guy. And we've just been working for a long time on stuff. We actually worked on music for like something before this was a game. And I thought I just made the intro to the game. And then, so then I was like, after years and years and years, I started meeting rappers. I met like Megaran. I met Open Mike Eagle. I met Open Mike Eagle like 8 years ago at the Highline, in the Highline Ballroom in Manhattan that's now closed. And he opened for Doomtree and I came over and it turned out he liked video games. And I fell in love with his music and I was like, I gotta work with this guy. And so, yeah, he was like, I was like, yo, you wanna do like a song together? He was like, hell yeah. So then we worked with him. And this guy, Matt Too Mellow, who does a lot of music for games, but he also does a lot of rap albums. So, and he does like Jet Set Radio, like in future, inspired albums and stuff.
We fell in love with the music when we heard it.
So like all three of that came together. We did that for the first game, and then we were like, and then I brought in Megaran to do this. We've got another remix dropping. I'll just try with another rapper and a whole new beat coming out closer to release. So it's funny if I told my like teenage self like, yo, you're gonna have like rappers that you fucking love like making this thing together in the future. I'd be like, wow, like I would have believed it.
You would have never thought about it. So like we said, Shaun, we fell in love with the game when we saw it at the New